There's a lie whispered through the veins of the modern world, a lie so seductive, most women believe it's freedom. It tells her she can have everything: power, love, independence, devotion. It tells her she's choosing her own destiny. But she isn't. She's following a script written by forces older than her grandmother's fears, and newer than her last Instagram post. Because here's the truth no one wants to admit. Most modern women don't desire love. They desire power disguised as love. They don't crave connection. They crave control. And the worst part? They truly believe it was their choice. Love, once the sacred exchange between two vulnerable souls, has become a transaction of dominance. She no longer asks, "Who can I surrender to?" She asks, "Who can I outgrow?" That's not empowerment. That's ego warfare dressed in feminism's perfume. If you look closely, you'll see the quiet erosion of something ancient. Once, love required humility, the willingness to need another. Now, needing anyone feels like weakness. So she builds walls, calls them boundaries, and crowns herself with the illusion of autonomy. But deep down, when the phone screen fades and the likes stop coming, she still feels the hollow ache of loneliness, the kind power cannot touch. The illusion of choice isn't freedom. It's the prettiest cage ever built. A woman may think she's choosing independence over intimacy, ambition over affection, success over surrender, but every choice is guided by one hidden fear: the fear of insignificance. And in today's world, power promises significance faster than love ever could. She's been taught since birth that to be loved is to be chosen, but to be powerful is to choose. So she learns to choose, and keep choosing, until her heart becomes numb from all the options. She doesn't see that her power is borrowed. It's fed by systems that never cared about her happiness, only her productivity. The modern woman mistakes validation for victory. She mistakes attention for affection. She mistakes being desired for being valued. And when that illusion shatters, when she realizes that men no longer worship her, that admiration fades, that her power has an expiration date, she begins to see what she's lost. The feminine essence that once healed, now competes. The warmth that once invited, now intimidates. It's not her fault entirely. She was promised freedom but handed fatigue. Promised equality but handed emptiness. Promised choice, but given only the illusion of it. Because true choice means awareness. And awareness means pain. It means looking at herself and asking, am I powerful or am I just afraid of love? Most never ask. They keep running, faster, louder, more independent, more self-sufficient, until the silence becomes unbearable. There's a strange tragedy in this era. Women have gained everything they were told would make them complete, and yet depression, anxiety, and loneliness among them have never been higher. How could that be? Because you cannot fill the soul with power. You can only distract it. The illusion tells her, you don't need a man. You are enough. But it never explains that being enough doesn't mean being fulfilled. Fulfillment requires connection, not dominance. Love, not leverage. And the modern woman, in her pursuit of independence, has confused being self-sufficient with being self-contained. She's closed herself off, called it strength, and wonders why her heart feels like a fortress built for a war that ended long ago. She's not evil. She's just lost. Because no one told her that empowerment without balance turns to isolation. That choice without wisdom turns to chaos. That freedom without love is just another kind of slavery. Internal, silent, invisible. The illusion thrives because it flatters her pride. It tells her she's rising above tradition, above men, above dependence. But the truth is darker. She's rising above love itself. And the higher she climbs, the colder it gets. At the top, she'll find power, but not peace. Control, but not connection. Admiration, but not affection. When everything in her life becomes about choice, what man to date, what career to pursue, what version of herself to present, love stops being a surrender and becomes a strategy. That's why relationships feel transactional, temporary, and hollow. Because they are. When love is filtered through the lens of power, it dies quietly, long before the breakup happens. The forbidden truth is this. Many women today don't actually want love. They want the emotional high that comes from being desired, without the vulnerability required to sustain it. They want the illusion of safety without the surrender it demands. They want devotion on their terms, control disguised as intimacy. And when they don't find it, they say, "Men are weak, there are no good men left, I'm focusing on myself." But deep down, they're not focusing. They're fleeing. The illusion of choice is cruel because it tells her she's the architect of her destiny, when in truth, she's reacting to a wound she refuses to name. The wound of feeling unchosen. The wound of being invisible. The wound of equating power with worth. Every illusion begins as a defense mechanism. And this one began as survival, but now it's become a religion. A religion where the altar is success, the prayer is validation, and the God is self. But the soul doesn't worship self. It worships meaning. And meaning only comes through connection, through the vulnerability of giving yourself to something greater than your ego. The illusion will keep whispering, choose power, choose control, choose yourself. But one day, when she's sitting in her beautiful apartment, successful, independent, scrolling through faces that all look the same, she'll realize she's been choosing all her life, and never once did she truly love. That's the tragedy of the modern woman. She won the game, but she lost herself. If you want to understand why modern women desire power more than love, you have to step beneath the surface, past the slogans, past the glossy empowerment quotes, and into the raw machinery of the psyche. Because the illusion of choice didn't appear out of nowhere. It was built from fear, the oldest emotion of all. Since the beginning of civilization, women's survival depended on belonging. The tribe, the family, the man, all of them were her safety nets against a world that didn't forgive weakness. To be loved meant to be protected. To be chosen meant to survive. Love wasn't optional, it was oxygen. But that ancient programming never disappeared. It evolved, quietly, subtly, hidden beneath layers of modern independence. Today, that same primal brain still searches for safety, but the environment has changed. In a world where technology replaces community and money replaces intimacy, safety no longer comes from being loved, it comes from being in control. And control looks a lot like power. What women call choice today is often just the modern translation of the same old instinct, the need for protection. Except now, protection doesn't come from a man. It comes from status, influence, and financial independence. She doesn't want to be held. She wants to be untouchable. On the surface, it looks like progress. Underneath, it's still fear wearing a new dress. The psychological foundation of this illusion rests on three pillars: validation, control, and fear of vulnerability. Each one feeds the other, forming a loop that feels like empowerment but functions like imprisonment. Validation is the first drug. From childhood, women are told their worth lies in how they're seen, not who they are. The pretty dress, the compliment, the attention, they all become small doses of approval that wire her brain to equate attention with love. So, when she grows older, she doesn't crave connection, she craves recognition. She doesn't want to be known deeply, she wants to be seen widely. Every like, every message, every man who wants her but can't have her, it all reinforces the illusion that she's powerful. But validation is a poor substitute for love. It feels good, but it never lasts. And the more she gets, the emptier she becomes. Then comes control. If validation is the drug, control is the dealer. Because control promises consistency, no surprises, no heartbreak, no vulnerability. She can predict her life, shape her narrative, keep her guard up. She calls it standards, but often it's just fear disguised as selectiveness. When she says, "I won't settle," sometimes what she means is, "I won't risk being hurt." And the tragedy is, by refusing to risk pain, she also refuses to feel real love. Control gives her the illusion that she's safe. But it also suffocates her. Because love, by nature, is surrender. It demands openness. It demands the risk of loss. And for the woman who equates control with safety, that risk feels like death. so she avoids it. She builds her life around achievements, around measurable outcomes, things she can control: career, reputation, image, everything except her heart. But beneath validation and control lies the deepest wound, the fear of vulnerability. It's the invisible ghost haunting every strong, independent woman who secretly wonders why she can't feel whole. Vulnerability requires trust, and trust requires letting go of control. It means saying, "You could hurt me, and I'll still open myself." That's terrifying in a world that rewards coldness. So she protects herself by staying perpetually half-open, emotionally available enough to seem warm, but never enough to be reached. You can see it in her relationships. She'll connect, but she won't attach. She'll care, but she won't commit. She'll flirt, but never surrender. Because surrender feels like weakness, and weakness feels like death. So she keeps everything at arm's length, including love. This is the psychological foundation of modern female desire, an endless battle between two forces, the craving for intimacy and the terror of losing control. And power, ironically, becomes the bridge between them. Power allows her to feel safe and admired. It's her compromise with evolution. But it's a fragile compromise, because power satisfies the ego, not the soul. Deep down, the modern woman is exhausted. She's tired of competing, tired of pretending that power fills the emptiness that used to be filled by love. But she can't stop, because the entire social structure now rewards her for it. The culture cheers for her ambition, her achievements, her confidence, but it never teaches her how to rest in vulnerability. It tells her to love herself, but never explains that self-love without self-surrender becomes narcissism. The psychology of this illusion is like a house built on shifting sand. Every time she thinks she's found stability, the ground moves. She gets the promotion, but still feels unseen. She travels the world, but feels untethered. She posts another perfect photo, but feels invisible. Because what she truly wants isn't attention, it's intimacy. And intimacy can't coexist with control. The paradox is cruel. The more powerful she becomes, the harder it is to find a man who matches her emotionally. The more independent she grows, the less she trusts dependence. And the more she controls, the less she feels. Her strength becomes her shield, and her prison. Men, too, have changed in response. They've become cautious, confused, sometimes passive. They sense the wall, the emotional armor, and retreat before they're wounded. They no longer pursue with fire, because they can feel the frost behind the smile. So both genders spiral in silence, him afraid to give, her afraid to receive. Underneath all the noise, there's a quiet longing. A woman wants to be seen beyond her achievements, loved beyond her independence, desired not for her image but her essence. But she's been conditioned to suppress that desire, to call it weakness, to shame it as regression. So she buries it beneath ambition. She tells herself love will come later, after the goals, after the success, after she's ready. But love doesn't wait for readiness. It requires openness. And openness is the one thing she's been taught to fear. This is the female illusion of choice in its psychological form. She believes she's choosing her path, but every decision is a reaction to an old wound. Every boundary is a defense. Every goal is a compensation. She's not chasing power for joy, she's chasing it for safety. But safety without love isn't peace. It's paralysis. The illusion thrives because the modern world profits from it. The more insecure she feels, the more she buys. The lonelier she becomes, the more she posts. The more she doubts her worth, the more she seeks validation. It's a perfect cycle, one that feeds corporations, media, and egos, but starves souls. The psychology of modern womanhood isn't evil, it's just misdirected survival. She's still searching for what every human being seeks: safety, belonging, meaning. But she's been tricked into believing those things can be found through control instead of connection. And the deeper tragedy is, by seeking control, she loses the very thing that once made her powerful: her softness, her ability to nurture, to feel, to surrender. Those weren't weaknesses. They were the feminine's ancient strengths. Now they're fading, replaced by coldness masquerading as confidence. Beneath every independent woman is a little girl who once loved fearlessly, until the world taught her that love is dangerous and power is safer. That's where the illusion began. Not in arrogance, but in pain. And pain, when left unhealed, becomes identity. To understand why modern women crave power more than love, you have to trace the path that led them here, not through ideology, but through time. Because every illusion has an origin story, and this one began when love stopped being a necessity and started being a luxury. Once upon a time, a woman's entire world was bound by the men she depended on. Father, husband, protector. Love wasn't just emotional, it was existential. Without it, she risked starvation, isolation, or shame. The home was her kingdom, but it was also her cage. So when the walls began to crack, when technology, capitalism, and ideology promised freedom, she didn't hesitate to run. And who could blame her? For centuries, the feminine was treated as something to control, to contain, to shape for the convenience of men and society. She was told what to be, what to feel, whom to serve. So when she finally found a way to rebel, it wasn't about equality. It was about revenge. And revenge, when disguised as liberation, can look a lot like power. The Industrial Revolution was the first tremor. It taught humanity that survival no longer depended on physical strength, but on adaptability. The male body, once the cornerstone of civilization, began to lose its monopoly. Machines replaced muscle. Factories replaced families. And for the first time, a woman could earn, could exist, without belonging to anyone. The economic system shifted the foundation of gender dynamics, but it also planted the seed of illusion, that financial independence could replace emotional dependence. Then came the 20th century, the era of redefinition. Wars dragged men to battlefields, and women to workplaces. They filled the empty chairs, ran the factories, led the homes. And when the men returned, they didn't find the same women waiting, they found women who had tasted their own power. They weren't content to return to silence. They had discovered a dangerous truth: they could survive alone. The sexual revolution of the 1960s poured gasoline on that discovery. For the first time, desire could be divorced from devotion. Freedom of the body became freedom of the identity. She was no longer defined by marriage or motherhood, she was defined by choice. But what began as liberation slowly mutated into disconnection. Love stopped being sacred, it became strategic. The bond between man and woman, once forged by interdependence, turned into a negotiation of egos. As feminism evolved through its waves, something subtle shifted. The original call for equality, a noble and necessary cry, turned into competition. It wasn't enough to be free, she had to be superior. Not just equal to men, but better than them. Every narrative, every commercial, every cultural cue began whispering, "You don't need him. You can be him." And so she became the very archetype she once resented: the achiever, the conqueror, the provider. But here's the irony: in trying to escape the power of men, she became addicted to the same poison: domination. She traded one form of dependence for another. She no longer depends on men, but she depends on validation, on recognition, on control. Different master, same servitude. The capitalist world welcomed her transformation with open arms. It saw profit in her rebellion. Every insecurity became a product. Every doubt became an advertisement. Empowerment became a brand, not a truth. And women, thinking they were claiming freedom, unknowingly entered a system designed to keep them forever striving, forever hungry for more. Because a content woman doesn't consume. A self-loving woman doesn't compete. A peaceful woman doesn't perform. And so, the illusion of choice was reinforced, not by oppression, but by distraction. Power became the new currency of worth. And in the process, love became optional. Because power promises predictability, while love demands surrender. And in a world addicted to control, surrender feels like suicide. This historical evolution reshaped the feminine psyche. Generations of women were raised not to feel but to fight. Their mothers told them, never depend on a man. Their teachers told them, ambition is strength. Their culture told them, you can have it all. But no one told them what having it all actually costs. The emotional landscape shifted. The softness that once defined feminine energy was slowly replaced by performance, by the need to prove worth in a masculine world. So she learned to speak the language of competition, not connection. And in mastering it, she forgot her own. This is how we arrived here, to the era of the empowered but empty woman. She has a career, a social presence, influence, choices, everything her ancestors could have only dreamed of. And yet, she's lonelier than ever. Because the structures that gave her power also stole her purpose. In the past, love was the ultimate goal. Now, it's a risk most are unwilling to take. Because love demands what power forbids, vulnerability. It requires faith, surrender, humility, all the traits that the modern world calls weakness. So instead of loving deeply, she loves strategically. Instead of choosing with her heart, she chooses with her ego. And the tragedy is that she can't even see it, because every voice around her tells her she's winning. The historical shift was supposed to liberate her. But true liberation doesn't come from doing what men do, it comes from remembering what women are. And somewhere along the line, that remembrance was lost. The world taught her how to earn, how to compete, how to conquer, but not how to be. It taught her how to speak loudly, but not how to listen deeply. It taught her how to take control, but not how to let go. The illusion of choice is sustained by a simple, devastating lie. That power brings peace. But history reveals the opposite. Power always hungers for more. It never rests. And the modern woman, caught in that hunger, now feels the same emptiness that once haunted the men she sought to surpass. She doesn't realize she's inherited their curse, endless striving. What began as evolution has turned into exhaustion. And beneath her polished independence lies a quiet truth she can't escape. She doesn't want to conquer the world. She just wants to feel safe in it. But safety doesn't come from control. It comes from connection. History freed her body, but shackled her heart. And until she learns the difference between freedom and detachment, she'll keep mistaking one for the other, calling her loneliness empowerment, and her emptiness success. That's the cost of the illusion. And the bill is coming due. There's a lie that hums beneath everything we see, beneath every advertisement, every dating app, every influencer whispering about self-worth and boundaries. It's the same message, repeated in different forms. You are your own God. And like all powerful lies, it doesn't sound evil. It sounds liberating. But that's the trap. Because the modern world no longer teaches us how to love, it teaches us how to perform love. We learn how to look desirable, not how to be present. We learn how to protect our image, not how to reveal our soul. We learn how to be independent, but forget how to be interdependent, how to coexist without competing. This is the social lie, the illusion that power is the ultimate currency of worth. That to be seen, respected, or chosen, you must first dominate your narrative, your image, your relationships. We live in a world that measures human value by visibility, not virtue. And so both men and women, consciously or not, end up chasing the same mirage, control. The irony is that control has replaced love as the new form of safety. It's easier to master an image than to reveal an insecurity. Easier to post a quote about self-love than to sit quietly with loneliness. Easier to say, I don't need anyone, than to admit, I don't feel seen. And the system loves this. It thrives on it. Because a society of disconnected individuals is easier to sell things to. If you can convince people that fulfillment comes from power, they'll keep buying. Products, experiences, even identities, all in the hope of finally feeling whole. But you can't consume your way to connection. And you can't love when your first instinct is defense. Somewhere along the way, intimacy became a performance of strength instead of a dance of vulnerability. We started choosing partners not for how they make us feel, but for how they make us look. We began evaluating love like a resume, status, ambition, emotional control. And in doing so, we turned relationships into transactions. Both genders now wear invisible armor. The woman learns to protect her softness. The man learns to suppress his tenderness. Both are told that showing need is weakness. So they meet, two fortresses pretending to be open fields, and wonder why nothing grows. The social lie tells her, you're powerful when you don't need anyone. It tells him, you're powerful when you don't show emotion. And together, they build a world where no one feels safe enough to love. Technology amplifies the illusion. Dating apps, social media, endless options, they create the appearance of abundance while deepening emotional poverty. You can have 1,000 choices and still feel unseen. You can talk to dozens of people and still feel untouched. The digital world trains us to value novelty over depth. It rewards attention, not devotion. It celebrates the image of connection while quietly erasing its substance. And so, the modern relationship often begins like a spark and ends like a strategy. We don't fall in love anymore, we calculate it. We measure compatibility, potential, convenience. We turn human warmth into data points. And then we wonder why everything feels so cold. The lie has many faces. It tells the woman that she's empowered by being desired, and tells the man that he's powerful only when he's desired by many. It tells her that independence is love. It tells him that detachment is masculinity. And it leaves both of them starving for something real. The most painful part of this illusion is that it began with good intentions. The push for freedom, equality, autonomy, all of it was meant to elevate us. But somewhere, the goal shifted from freedom to love better to freedom from needing love at all. And in trying to escape dependence, we've created a world allergic to intimacy. We forgot that love isn't a transaction of equals, it's a surrender between souls. It's not about who leads or who follows, who wins or who yields. It's about dissolving the walls long enough to be changed by another. And change, in this age of control, feels like defeat. That's why so many people today describe relationships with the language of war. Boundaries, battles, power dynamics, emotional leverage. Everything becomes about defense and advantage, not connection and trust. We no longer say, I want to love deeply. We say, I won't tolerate less than I deserve. And though that sounds healthy, it's often just fear rewritten as self-respect. The truth is, most people aren't chasing power because they love it. They're chasing it because they're terrified of powerlessness. Because to be vulnerable in a culture that mocks sincerity feels like exposure, like handing over a weapon to someone who might use it against you. So we stay guarded. And the more guarded we become, the lonelier we feel. The social lie thrives in this loneliness. It feeds off the gap between who we are and who we pretend to be. It tells us we're independent, while quietly keeping us dependent on attention, validation, and endless distraction. But you can only chase power for so long before it turns on you. Eventually, the achievement that once felt intoxicating starts to feel empty. The independence that once felt liberating starts to feel isolating. And the pride that once felt empowering begins to feel heavy, because it keeps you from reaching out. The truth is simpler than the lie. Love is not a weakness. Dependence, when mutual, is not submission. And vulnerability isn't a loss of power, it's the birth of it. Because the strongest thing you can ever do in a world built on fear is open your heart anyway. The modern social structure tells us that to be safe, we must be untouchable. But the soul doesn't want safety. It wants meaning. It wants to merge, to give, to receive, to be seen. And no amount of independence, no amount of success or control, can replace that hunger. The social lie made us forget that love is not a transaction between equals, it's a union between differences. Between strength and softness. Between pride and humility. Between the courage to stand alone and the wisdom to surrender together. Until we remember that, the illusion will keep winning, and we'll keep mistaking control for connection, loneliness for empowerment, and fear for freedom. For centuries, humanity has searched for power, to control nature, to control fate, to control one another. But somewhere along the way, we forgot that the greatest power is not in domination, it's in surrender. Not the surrender of weakness, but the surrender of the heart, that quiet courage to be seen without armor. This is where the story comes full circle. Because everything we've built, the independence, the ambition, the boundaries, was never meant to kill love. It was meant to protect it. But when protection becomes obsession, love suffocates under the weight of fear. In the modern age, men and women have both become reflections of the same wound, the wound of disconnection. Both were taught to survive alone. Both were told that to need is to fail. Both now walk through life armored, one with pride, the other with perfection. And both secretly ache for something real, something raw, something that can't be captured in a post or measured in power. Love has become a paradox. Everyone wants it, but no one wants to risk what it requires. We crave the warmth, but fear the burn. We crave intimacy, but dread exposure. So we hide behind strength, hoping someone will see through it. But no one does, because everyone else is hiding, too. The truth is, the pursuit of power is often just the fear of insignificance. We chase success, validation, admiration, all to prove that we are enough. But love never asks for proof. It only asks for presence. And presence cannot exist when the mind is busy defending itself. You see, the modern illusion isn't female or male, it's human. It's the idea that fulfillment can be achieved through control. That we can manage love the same way we manage our careers, our image, our future. But love doesn't obey management. It obeys surrender. The modern person stands between two voices. One whispers, protect yourself. Stay strong. Never depend on anyone. The other whispers, open yourself. Let go. Trust again. And every day, we choose between them. Every day, we build or we barricade. But power and love speak different languages. Power says, I will not be hurt. Love says, even if I am, I will not close. Power says, I need to win. Love says, I need to understand. Power is about control. Love is about connection. And connection, the real kind, is terrifying. It requires us to be known not for what we project, but for what we truly are. It means letting someone see the part of us that we can barely stand to face ourselves. It means being vulnerable enough to admit that, beneath all the confidence and independence, we still want to be held. When we confuse love with power, we lose both. Because power isolates. And isolation, no matter how noble it looks, will always starve the soul. The tragedy of our time is not that people are incapable of love, it's that they've been taught to fear it. They've been taught that love will slow them down, distract them, make them weak. But love, in its pure form, is the opposite of weakness. It demands more strength than any career, any ambition, any performance of success. It demands courage, the courage to stay open in a world that rewards numbness. And so, the real question is no longer why we desire power more than love, but whether we can learn to desire both in balance. Power without love becomes tyranny. Love without power becomes dependence. But when they coexist, when love softens power and power protects love, humanity finds its center again. Maybe that's the evolution we need next. Not men versus women. Not independence versus intimacy. But a quiet reconciliation between the two halves of the human spirit, the strength to stand alone and the humility to kneel together. Because despite everything, the noise, the competition, the illusions, something in us still remembers what it feels like to love without fear. It's why heartbreak still hurts. Why silence after a fight feels unbearable. Why we keep trying, even when logic tells us not to. That memory, that ancient longing, is proof that love hasn't died. It's only been buried beneath the rubble of pride and progress. And the moment we stop trying to win against each other, we might finally rediscover the truth that power could never replace. That the deepest fulfillment is not in being admired, but in being understood. So maybe the modern era isn't a failure of love, it's a test of it. A test to see if we can love again after all we've seen. After all the betrayals, the noise, the self-obsession. A test to see if, despite the illusion, we can still choose connection over control. The illusion of choice always promised freedom. But love, the real kind, is freedom. Not the freedom to be untouched, but the freedom to be fully human. To feel, to hurt, to risk, to surrender, and still open your heart anyway. That's what power was supposed to protect, and what love was always meant to reveal. And maybe that's the final truth. That when love and power stop competing, the war inside us finally ends. Movie camera description. Modern relationships are breaking not because people stopped caring, but because we've confused love with control. This final chapter explores the deepest illusion of our age, that power brings fulfillment. It doesn't. Power without love isolates. Love without power collapses. Here you'll see the quiet truth beneath all ambition and independence. The heart still longs to be known, and no amount of success can replace that. This is not about gender or blame, it's about the human struggle between pride and connection, and the courage it takes to choose love in a world that fears it.